this might be a great opportunity for you guys to fill some time by listening to me speak for a few minutes, and I'll give you the opportunity to ask questions. And Kyle, I think it'd be appropriate that Bob gets the first question today when we open it up for questions. But so first, let me start with giving you an update on what's going on our campus right now. I'm sure everybody's interested in COVID and the testing and some numbers. As of Monday, July the 6th, we had over 300 student athletes that were back on campus representing all of our 19 schools in some way, shape, or form. Last met with each of you, I shared with you what I called our confidence plan for our student athletes to return back on June the 8th, starting with the football and our fall sports. That plan included our testing protocols, our facility cleaning, how we're going to staff those facilities, etc. What I can tell you is I truly believe that plan has worked very, very well. I'm extremely proud of our medical staff, our student athletes, our support staff that includes our athletic trainers, our strength conditioning coaches, and each of our head coaches for really setting the tone. And again, for our student athletes for doing an incredible job making an adjustment as they return to campus. And to give you a little feel to date, we've had less than 10 student athletes and 2 staff members who have tested positive for COVID, with all but one of those that were infected having returned to their workouts and/or work at this time. So again, less than 10 student athletes, 2 staff members, but only 1 active case right now. So meaning that all those that did positive have returned either to their voluntary workouts or to their work environment. And based on the contact tracing from those positive tests, we currently have about 20 student athletes who are still in some phase 10-day quarantine period, but each of those student athletes has tested negative. So as we look forward to our fall sports, football, volleyball, soccer, and cross country, officially beginning practice during the first week, our testing protocols will be enhanced, and that will include at that point in time some rapid response testing on a weekly basis for all participating student athletes in those fall sports. And you may have seen about an hour or so ago that the NCAA released kind of their 3rd version of their medical guidelines and recommendations that included testing prior to at least 72 hours prior to competition, an institution, and as a conference to fall in line with those plans. And so that's the COVID kind of update. And I'll get through a few of these updates and then open it up for questions. So the outlook on football to date. I think you're all aware that on Monday, the SEC ADs Birmingham to discuss a number of issues with an obvious focus on the upcoming football season. And what I can tell you, and I think probably what you've heard this week, is that we're going to continue to be patient as a conference before making any decisions. There's several options that are on the table right now. The first option still being the 12-game schedule that for us starts on November 5th versus Nevada, followed by a road game on September 12th at Notre Dame. We can't move on to the second option until we eliminate the first option, and that first option is still very much on the table, as are other options. The impact of the Pac-12 and Big Ten decisions have been minimal. Really only 2 games, Colorado at Texas A&M and Alabama and USC down in Dallas. So those decisions by those other Power 5 conferences those are the only 2 games we lost. And so as we sit here today, what I believe from my conversations with Commissioner Sankey, that the SEC, the Big 12, and the ACC are on the same page as far as our collective desire to be patient before making any decisions. When you look at some of the in-state rivalries that exist, especially between the SEC and the ACC, it seems to make sense that Clemson should play South Carolina, and Georgia should play Georgia Tech, and Florida should play Florida State. And so just eliminating those games because you want to play a conference-only schedule, at least at this point, does not make a great deal of sense. Football games at Razorback Stadium, our event operations and external team, in consultation with the Arkansas Department of Health, are finalizing a plan for football games at Razorback Stadium, as well as soccer and volleyball games this fall. We're working toward a goal to be able to accommodate each of the 32,700 season ticket holders who make a choice to attend the game, to continue with their season tickets, along with our students And attending games this year is going to involve several changes. The first being mobile ticketing. There will most likely be some staggered entry times for fans, assigned entry gates. I think you will see defined directional movement of patrons on concourses and aisles, meaning when you're on the concourse, you'll go down one way and come back the other, and there'll be very little overlapping of traffic. And then we're working with lead concession partner to develop a pre-packaged concession item, as well as potentially pre-ordered and prepaid concession items. The field's going to look different. The team box is now going to go from the 15-yard line to the 15-yard line. There'll be limited non-essential personnel on the sidelines, limited members of the media on the sidelines. There'll be no on-field presentations or recognitions, and still yet to be determined if we'll have any performances by band or cheerleaders on the field. So some of the things that really make football games and college football special, the pageantry that we're all used to, probably not going to exist in a college football venue this year. Financially, football is incredibly important to us at the University of Arkansas, and I think my fellow SEC members would say the same thing. For us, it generates about $70 million of our approximately $124 million budget. Not to mention the economic impact that Razorback football has across Northwest Arkansas and across our state. So obviously, if we're not able to play football,
welcome in. It's our Friday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. As we let you, and we will continue to let you hear our Zoom conference with AD Hunter Yurachek here at the University of Arkansas. Man, from the sound of this, my friends, could be some football on the horizon. I know that they still have some information to gather. We still got to abide by the guidelines of the state and this in attempts of beating this COVID pandemic. But all things pointing toward a football season. I'm starting to see it. And if you have any questions, your thoughts on the upcoming football season, not only here at Arkansas but high school football, multiple opinions. Do so. You can hit us up on our Facebook Live. That's On the Hill Sports Talk. You can hit us up on our YouTube live stream. That's On the Hill Sports Talk LLC. Or, you know what you can do? You can hit us on our line at 479-601-7400 and chime in with us. And, man, Demetrius, when I think about this week, as we're opening up the phone lines and we're going to take our viewer questions throughout the day, it's your show today. No hold, guys. The bus is stopped. We're giving it a rest. The bus driver needed some vacation days, so we're going to give him some vacation days. We'll be out on Monday, but, man, this has been a heck of a week. With the recruits, the new associate head basketball coach here at the University of Arkansas. Our question to the fan base and viewers today is, what's been your highlight of On the Hill this week? What stands out about this week's shows to you? Well, I'll first start by going over here to my main man. DJ, what you see? What stood out this week about our shows?
I'm just glad to see the progression that, or I should say the progression of information that we're getting about going to the season. Just listening to Hunter Yurachek, it sounds like they do feel that we will have some football in some capacity. We don't know what, but I just like the idea that they did talk about interstate rivalries. Right. South Carolina playing Clemson, Georgia playing Georgia Tech. So that kind of sparked that Arkansas State rivalry. So it's going to be interesting to see how they decide the games. And
you did notice and we'll play more and more throughout the show. Hunter's going to allude to possible. They hadn't ruled out their normal regular season 12 games, but that 12-game interconference schedule and season is at a high. It's a possibility, and it's one that me as a fan, but really as a media member, I would love to go to a game each and every Saturday and know that I'm going to be watching a very, very highly competitive game where it's not a guaranteed money win for Arkansas. It's a game that we're going to see a lot of different storylines take place, and no better place than can be presented that is SEC football, Demetrius. It's just different. We're down on field level, week in and week out, just different. And that's not to be biased toward one conference or another. It's just proven facts.
I think this can be a very progressive move if the SEC decides to do interconference. It's always, we talked about it earlier this week on the show about the SEC has always wanted to do its own thing, knowing that it was the best conference in college football, arguably right under, the NFL, or some people say the minor leagues to the NFL. Right. When you think of it like that, I think the NCAA should have been trying to make sure that didn't happen. Because I think the SEC is really going to realize their value amongst college football, and they're going to take it. Right. We all know that the SEC is the big money conference when you look at TV deals, when you look at the experience that goes from the SEC to the NFL. So right. Even the NFL has heightened interest in the SEC being productive and being efficient. So to me, I think it's going to change the landscape of college football. I think at the end of this COVID thing, there's going to be a lot of people saying, hey, let's do our own thing. We see we don't need these other schools. We really don't need to schedule these games according to NCAA regulations. Let's go off and do our own thing.
I just love it, Demetrius, because like I said, you've heard me for years talk about this parity thing, and that's what I think. If we go interconference and we play, all SEC games year in and year out, you will begin to see the parity take place in this league, and it's already taking place. You can see it, and we've had associate head coach for the men's basketball program, David Patrick, and he alluded to that very same thing, is that the athletes being in the Big 12 and during his time at TCU and other leagues, the athletes in the SEC are just different. You can look at the NBA draft. I mean, you look at the recruiting classes heading into the 20 basketball season. I mean, I think there was 4 or 5 in the top 10 basketball classes, and then you look at the 21s, and you look throughout baseball, women's basketball, softball. It's just the athlete in this conference is. I mean, it's a cut above what you would get week in and week out if you were outside the SEC, and that's like I said, I'm gonna say it again. It's just facts. That's gonna be my word today. Fact.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I've always saw the big difference between football and the other conferences is definitely when you're talking about speed and physicality and just the overall just numbers of bodies that can play at the professional level. But just hearing a coach that comes from outside of the SEC and then comes back in there, coach with Arkansas, and then coaching down there at LSU, also being a coach in the NBA and having that NBA experience, it was interesting for me to hear him say that, because you've always heard people say that the SEC is not a basketball conference. You always heard people say,
they want to take away from the
when
SEC.
You look amongst the SEC in basketball, people put the Big Ten, the ACC basketball, because then you get into the North Carolinas and all those other schools, those blue bloods of basketball. But I think it's interesting that everybody's really starting to see the value of the SEC outside of football. Even when you look over at baseball, you look at the draft picks that usually come out of the SEC for baseball. It's astounding to see really the productivity from the SEC and really how they can be self-sufficient without the NCAA.
Is it just the TV exposure? Because I think that plays a large part in why the SEC dominates the way it does. But it's the product, like you said, on the field, and I think also too the coaches, the level of coaching that's that's been presented to all these institutions. You have to give a lot of credit to the ADs around the SEC for identifying the coach that's hot, the coach that can get it done, and the fit. I think that's what the SEC is all about, finding a fit, and then really taking advantage of all the access and resources that you have at your school. And Sam Pittman is going to be no different. Eli Drinkwitz will be no different. Lane Kiffin, I think, will really benefit going forward. Mike Leach, I'm still at the Leach Beach. I'm just not feeling that. But go ahead and finish your statement, my main man.
I was just going to say, I think it's a little bit of both. You said what makes the SEC interesting is it the TV. And I think it's not only the television and the coaches, but just the relationships that come out of SEC schools. When you look at the alumni, like let's just, for example, Jerry Jones being a former member of the Arkansas Razorbacks and then going into the NFL and having that type of power. You look over there at ESPN, a lot of SEC colleagues, out of Hoover, out of Alabama, go to SEC Network
Right.
and go work, and go to ESPN and get jobs. So I think it's not only the television connection, but also just the relationship and the powers that be that come out of the SEC. When you talk about Fortune 500 companies
Right.
and just guys that really have influence amongst America, I think that's really what gives the SEC power, is that we really have a lot of influence, not only even academically. When you
Correct.
look at it, I
Good
think
point.
we this is the conference that really has it checks the marks on all academic levels when you talk about sports,
Absolutely.
relationships, and other things like that.
Well, we're going to continue on. Let's get a quick break because we got to pay some bills, and then when we come back, if you got questions, you can do so through Facebook. You can do so through YouTube live stream, and you can do through our phone lines. That's 479-601-7400. It's your show today. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Back in a sec.
We can find a way to safely play football, soccer, volleyball, and cross country this fall. That is our number one goal. So I will stop right there, and we'll open up. Bob, you got a question already?
Let her rip, Bob.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we'll do the same
I
thing.
can.
Everybody,
Okay.
we'll do 2 questions and then rotate so we can try to get through everybody, okay?
Governor Hutchinson announced today that he was going to have, a statewide mask mandate. I was wondering your reaction to that. And then the second part of that is the Georgia governor, I can't name, but he's basically repealing all the local mandates in his state about masks. Just wondering what your feelings are about those decisions.
Well, I fully support the governor. I fully support my good friend Doug McMillan and the staff at Walmart for the decision that they made. I fully support the Board of Trustees for our system and the decision that they made. It's a shame, in my opinion, that wearing a mask has to become a political decision. To me, it's just the right thing to do. What we've heard from medical personnel, and me and my family, we are active mask wearers, as are all of our staff members that have come to work. And I think it's the right thing to do, not only for yourself, but for everyone you come in contact with.
And then the second question, you sound optimistic about being able to compete in the various sports this fall. What's your level of optimism?
I'd say it's mediocre, Bob, to be honest and very transparent. Mediocre. It's not as high as it was a month ago. I mean, obviously what has trended across our country with this virus in the past 4 to 6 weeks is not at all what we had expected, at least not what I had expected. I thought as we sat in May and we were going to bring our student athletes back on June the 8th that I would have said back then we had a much better opportunity for this to happen. But, things can change quickly. They change quickly in the wrong direction for us. And I think if everybody will do their part as far as wearing the mask and social distancing, that we still have a great chance to have fall sports this year, because this is a virus that there's been peaks and valleys of this thing since it started. And we've learned a great deal. I think as we look back at March, when this all started, we made a quick and hasty decision, in my opinion, as a nation to cancel at least spring sports. I think as we look back now, there's probably was a way for us to get in and modify baseball and softball and tennis and golf seasons with the social distancing that naturally exists in some of those sports. And so I think this is something we just got to be patient with, Bob.
Okay, thanks, Hunter.
Nate?
Welcome back. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio here on KDSJ 479. And real quick, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. This would not be possible without those guys making this exceptional each and every day, Monday through Friday for 1 to be. That being said, Lindsay and Associates with an office location in Fayetteville. An office location also too in Rogers, Locomotion. They're located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville. Corey Beck's Custom Painting, and the one we always talk about, KDK's Chicken. They're down at 989 South Razorback Road. Go see Keith and Kathy. Get some love. They said on the building, it's not your mama's. We say it's the best chicken and waffles in the South. Meet us there or beat us there. That's KDK's Chicken at 989 Razorback Road. But we took a little break, and during the break, Demetrius, we came, and our viewers came with it. They came with some really good questions. I want to read off the first one by Chuck King. And Chuck says, it's more about ESPN control of our conference and schedule. and their rating tell ESPN that we are just the same in basketball than another conference. Your thoughts on that? I agree. You really can't say anything. I mean, he said it all. I mean, I agree.
I think so. You know, a lot of people try to just give credit to Kentucky, but when you look over the last couple of years, you look at Tennessee, them being in a Sweet 16. I want to say they made it to a Final Four one year. Am I wrong?
Almost got there.
Almost got there.
And
excuse me on my basketball, because the fans that listen to the show know I'm a football guy, but. And then you look over there at, of course, Kentucky, and I think again when Arkansas gets back in this mix, I think you'll see a three-headed monster in a couple of schools. And then you actually look over there at Alabama. You know, they were doing some things for a while, and then you look at Vanderbilt with Jerry Stackhouse going over there being the coach. So I think you're going to see some kind of turnover there. So I think just given time, I think the SEC is going to continue to get the respect that is deserved. But I think you hit it on the head. I think it starts with the coaches. Once you start bringing in these former NBA players and guys that have NBA experience and backgrounds in that, you're going to see a better product on the court.
Absolutely. And like I said, Coach Patrick said it best. I mean, kids and parents want to know, how can I, if I choose your institution, have the proper resources and the development to make it to the next level, and are there people in place that can get me there? And I think here at Arkansas, that's just a tremendous sell. Tremendous sell. And I want to tell Chuck King, great question, CK. Keep bringing them. That was a great question. And now one of our guys, because this dude always comes reeling. I mean, he's a great viewer and always chimes in. Nick Lee. Nick, I want you to read that question to me, because that all right. I got it. Get rid of playing A&M in Dallas. Start using Dallas for a better non-conference neutral site game. I get that. And I think that would be. I'm always a proponent of playing these conference games on the particular campuses. I think it just adds more, and it would add more to the Arkansas-Texas rivalry. I mean, I was there in 2013, or should I say, 2013, when Johnny and the boys came into Fayetteville, and that atmosphere was absolutely bonkers. I've also, Demetrius and I have been to the previous 3 games at Jerry's World. That atmosphere could be better, but I think that will be okay as the years goes on, and Arkansas can recruit to a level that A&M has, and then you have to start beating this team. I mean, you hadn't beaten this team in 7-8 years. In the time slot, that 11 o'clock, Demetrius, come on. Not for a rivalry game that's an old Southwest Conference rivalry where all fans could get together and really ham it up.
And, I think that's the only thing that I can say is missing. I think when your team start winning, that's the way you get people to travel and create that electric atmosphere that people desire when they go to those neutral sites. Because I think Texas A&M is a worthy opponent. I think when you look at their fan base, them being the 12th man, I just think they have the fan base. I think Arkansas has the fan base to have Jerry Stadium rocking. I would like to see a Texas versus Arkansas game there or something like that. That really Oklahoma versus
How about
Arkansas.
Baylor and Arkansas,
and that's what I was actually gonna. That was my next thought. Is I think they should kind of take on the likings of basketball, where they have a Big 12 challenge. Within the SEC, you have Arkansas that schedules a big 12 game year in and year out, because I think we're getting to the point where some of these Rudy Poot teams and those AA Division I teams that we kind of schedule just to play money to, we should kind of cut that out.
And I think Baylor would be a really good rivalry for Arkansas, home and away, because I think Dave Miranda and also what they've been able to do over the last 5 to 8 years with that program. I know Kendall Browse and his father, Art, really built something special. They had a little hiccup in the road, but still were able to get that thing back up and running. And I just think, with Baylor's in the center of the state, so they have an opportunity to recruit really, really good players. New stadium. A lot of those guys have, go on and get jobs with ESPN and whatnot. But I just really think I think Baylor, Arkansas would be
And not only that, because
that'd be a good series.
For the fans that attended that TCU game, that was probably one of the top 10 Arkansas games that I've seen
it's pretty wild,
in the last 5 years. I know they don't have a lot of winning games, but I can probably put that up there with some of those Petrino games. If you went to that TCU game and you seen that double overtime, you seen Austin Allen go in, that was a game to remember. And I thought that was an electric atmosphere. So, I think a game like that in Jerry Jones, Jerry Stadium would be dope.
We won't even mention that game. That game had some.
Hey, we can't finish it, but hey, that's just.
Let's just. Let's just say that was a good game. I mean, man, that just.
But yeah, I think that would be dope to continue to even have a Big 12 challenge, and then you throw a SMU in there, every now and then. And I think even with the coaches that you recently had come through Arkansas, kind of adds to.
Let's play Missouri State.
Let's
play Missouri State. That guy, have him ride over on the motorcycle, and let's just go ahead. We didn't come to paint. That's what we're telling them. We didn't come to paint.
I can't. We got to beat Missouri first, so.
Yeah, let's play Missouri State.
But I'm excited.
I'm an agitator. I want them.
I do enjoy the trip to Jerry Jones because I think it adds to coming to the Arkansas. It's almost like an experience that every university doesn't have the privilege of really playing in 3 states. That's 3 states.
But it's something about going to another team's home field with a raucous crowd and walking out with the W in the SEC. There's just the atmosphere. I know, it's a real good atmosphere, but it's too pro-ish for me. I mean, you want those SEC games to be in those little college towns like the SEC. I think that's what makes it. When you can be downtown, your house is only 5 minutes. All you gotta do is hop and walk down the street and be a part of a tailgate party.
See, but it's different as a recruit.
The SEC.
As a recruit and as a kid playing the game.
Right. That's a good point.
Especially as a coach, you can
point.
take them in alumni. We're not talking about just any. We're not talking about just any owner. You're talking about alumni of your university.
And half of these kids love the Cowboys to top it off.
I really need to go back and see what's the Cowboys draft.
I think we got a call, and that's the guy. He's calling in for a segment, so let's get him on. Who do we have? Is this the man with the plan down at 989 South Razorback Road? We have him, one of our sponsors, and the big dog, the man with the sauce, Keith Kidd of KDK. What's up, Keith?
Hey, what's going on?
Man, I'm trying to eat. I'm trying to see what your love's all about. Tell people what's going on down there at KDK's and what are some of the things that you come get this weekend?
We down here cooking chicken. We doing what we normally do, cook this chicken.
Now, Keith, you are starting to be quite the stopping place for that football team up there on the hill. I know you're a former Razorback yourself. Talk about some of the expectations that if we do get a chance to play this season, you've had a chance to be around Coach Pittman. What type of program do you see Arkansas with the leadership of Sam at the head?
If we have a season this year, man, don't be surprised if we don't win 6 games. This man is bringing some great assistant in, and they got some great talent coming in. In the next 2 or 3 years, Arkansas will be competing in the SEC. Look for that to happen.
From a former player standpoint, what do you think the disconnect has been over the last several years? It just seemed like from the moment Bobby fell off the motorcycle, Arkansas's really never recovered. What do you think's been the biggest disconnect with this program to get? Because you played in an era where losing kind of was almost taboo.
Well, and I tell you what happened. We have not had the talent that we need to compete in the SEC. That's the biggest thing, is having talent. And now Coach Pittman is bringing some good talent to Arkansas, and people are going to be able to see that we'll be able to compete in the next 2 or 3 years. It's getting ready to happen.
You being from Arkansas, the high school football, what must happen for Arkansas's high school football to get back to that level that we once knew?
We got to keep the kids in state right now, and I'm telling you right now, we got to recruit the kids, keep them here in state, don't let them get outside of Arkansas. And it starts with that right there. If we can do that, we're going to start being successful.
Well, man, I know you got to get back to cooking up all that love. So one last time, tell them how can they reach you guys if they want to call in, and what address, and what are some of the things that when they do get down there they might want to tap into.
You can call us at 479-841-7300. The address is 989 Razorback Road. Come get some of this homemade peach cobbler. Come get some of these wings and tenders, and come get that loaded waffle fry pack.
Wait a minute. Hey, you missed one. The chunks, baby. You got to
come get these chunks, Pat. You got to come get these chunks.
All right, well, I'm going to come down there. Like I say, people, if you haven't been down there, meet me down there or see me down there. I'm telling you, that's KDK's Chicken. And Keith, thanks for what you do for the community, man. Keep cooking up that love, and I'll be down soon.
Okay, Pat, thank you very much.
All
right, bye-bye.
On the hill, who we got?
Hey, this is Vernon Johnson.
Mr. Johnson, what you got for me?
Hey, look here. I'm thinking over things. And I know at one time before the pandemic happened and all that, there was a big discussion about college players getting paid to play. And I'm sitting here saying, if we can do all this figuring out on how to make it possible for players to play in this pandemic, then why in the world we can't pay these players while they're going through college?
All right, Mr. Johnson, you know as well as I know, and I may get in trouble for saying, but I don't care. The NCAA runs a pimp program. Let's just be honest, call it like we see it. I mean, all these kids that they're using with selling these jerseys, you can't tell me that number 5 at Arkansas was popular before Darren McFadden put it on. I'm just not going to buy that. Number 34 in basketball, the Big Nasty created that.
That's it.
Michigan, who start wearing I got on some Huaraches today, and I didn't know about those shoes until Michigan, those young men came out. So, I mean, I understand a lot of these people don't realize that kids that are having their likeness sold don't have those type of families to where they can just sit back and it be okay. I mean, a lot of them take their stipends and send money home to maybe help pay a bill or to buy some groceries. I think that gets lost in the sauce. But let's just call it like it said. I think the NCAA runs a pimp program. We're talking about nonprofit. Nonprofit for who? That's my question. Nonprofit for who?
Well, I think it's time for us to relook at the value of our kids.
Right.
It's not the, and trust me, I want Arkansas to always be a champion.
Right.
And not just the team, but the entire state. But it's really time that we relook at things in society.
I totally agree.
Particularly when it comes to our kids, we need to put money in their pocket.
And you worry about kids leaving early in basketball, the one and dones, football, 3 and out. If these kids, I believe, have more financial resources to help out their families the right way, then you don't have that kid being enticed by an agent that throws an extra $1,000 maybe the day before he heard, hey, mom and brother and sister going to be evicted if we don't come up with this rent. So I mean, kids make decisions, but if that was in place and these kids could just get 5 or 10%, of the likeness, I think that would alleviate a lot of the NCAA's trouble, and we wouldn't have so many kids, playing 3 years or doing the one and done. It would save college athletics all the way around.
Exactly right, and not only that, but it was making a great deal for that kid to also get his or her education in the process.
Well, hey, I'll tell you what, this call is a special call because this call is all the way from a place I know Demetrius knows, Enterprise, Alabama. So look, if we can get calls from Alabama, I know we got people sitting there right by the phone. Dial us 601-7400. Be like Mr. Johnson and bring it to us. There's no right or wrong, but Mr. Johnson, hey, our line is your line and our show is your show, and hey, always chime in. All right.
Appreciate you.
You have a blessed weekend now, and thanks for the call.
You too.
Demetrius, I think you know who that was, man. Pop's got some fire questions. What?
Yeah, I think that was a great question. That leads
Excellent question.
That leads me back to what I was saying about the NCAA allowing the SEC to play interconference scheduling, because I think when the SEC understands the value of the players, and I think if they succeed, you're going to see things like players get paid, especially when now these players do have the right to have the likeness to their name. So that gives the NCAA doesn't know, the longer they wait, the more they're giving these individual conferences power to be without them, and for them to see the true value, because without these individual conferences, the NCAA as a whole has no power. They need these conferences to make money.
Our buddy Nick has another question. He says, if Arkansas doesn't travel to South Bend, will that contract be void? I think for this year that would hurt, but Arkansas is not scheduled to have a return game here in Fayetteville till 2025, I believe, when Notre Dame comes to town 4 years from now. So, but I do think, I mean, that's kind of hard, you know. But
I don't think it becomes void. I think they find some way to reschedule, because I just think with what's happened, it wasn't that, you know, Arkansas just decided, hey, we don't want to play you guys. I think with the circumstances that they're just going to try to figure out a way to reschedule that game.
Hey, well, we're going to take another quick break, let you hear more of 100-Year Check, and then we're going to come back and close this thing out. It's our Friday edition. It's your edition as well. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Back in a sec.
As I said, was a 12-game schedule, but to have a conference-only schedule gives you some flexibility. If you have a team that just cannot compete, if say their first-string offense is all wiped out because of how they meet, you'd have the ability to reschedule that game later in the year. If you have a conference-only schedule, it makes it easier to do. And it's really going to probably just be a no contest. You're not going to have the opportunity to play that game.
Thank you.
Kyle Deckelbaum.
Hey, Hunter, you know, Sam waited a long time to be a head coach, and then all this happens. I just wonder how you think he's handling some uncertainty.
Sam Pittman has been unbelievable. For someone that has never been a head coach other than at the junior college level early in his tenure, he has handled everything that has been thrown at him and his staff like he is a seasoned veteran head coach. I have been incredibly impressed. Walking out yesterday, or actually not yesterday, it's Tuesday, when we had our first opportunity for our coaches to truly be involved with our players on the field for about an hour on Tuesday afternoon, and how that was organized, and to see him walking around and the excitement that he was walking around. I hope we get to play football just for him, because I know he's been waiting a long time for this opportunity, and he has handled it like a champ.
Hey, and so just take us through the next couple of weeks. You know, if you guys say that the decision has to be made by the end of the month, let's take us through how some of those decisions will, exactly be made.
We meet by way of Zoom 2 or 3 times a week as Southeastern Conference athletic directors. We probably read information on a daily basis from medical professionals that are sent to us about as we're tracking this virus. I like to tell people I am an AD and not an MD, but I've learned a great deal more about medicine than ever to learn. And I think it's just for us to follow the data. And there may be, Kyle, a cinder block that just slaps us in the face. It makes this decision really, really easy for us one way or the other. But, it's kind of like if this just kind of trends towards the middle, it really makes the decision that much harder about which way to go. One of the things that I think, it really goes unnoticed and unmentioned, I think is unique, and I talk to my colleagues in our department that have young kids that are playing sports, that there are youth sports happening all over our community. There's youth baseball games and youth softball games and travel basketball games. Our coaches sit in their offices.
And I like chicken and waffles. What's a good place I can get some chicken and waffles? I know. KDK's Chicken at 989 South Razorback Road. Get on down there and see Keith and Kathy. Get a plate of that love. And like they say on their building, it's not your mama's. The best chicken and waffles in the South. They even got chicken wings. And they got these things called loaded fries. I think you might want to get on down there. Meet me down there or see me down there. KDK's Chicken at 989 Razorback Road.
Welcome back to our Friday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, and we're about to close this week's this Friday edition and the week Man, as I said, Demetrius, it's been quite the week. I mean, a lot of recruits on, a lot of really good information. We had the associate head men's basketball coach on, David Patrick, throughout the week. And we want to give a shout-out. I want to say a thank you to prospects, Denzel Moore of Norcross, Georgia, Meadow Creek High School. I misspoke. He's not from Norcross High School. His high school is Meadow Creek High School there in Norcross, Georgia, for the 2023 defensive end outside linebacker. So make a note of that. We had him on earlier in the week, and I always want to give the proper information. That's just how we are here on OTH. We want to thank Mumu Benwahad. He's out of Grayson High School, the 2022 defensive back, coming on this week and sharing his thoughts on Arkansas. And 2021 offensive line prospect, Rayshawn Benny out of Detroit, Michigan, Oak Park High School. I want to say a thank you to Terrion Williams, the 2022 athlete. He's also out of Grayson, Georgia. He came on. A big-time shout-out to 2021 defensive end prospect out of Austin, Hutto High School, Landon Watson. A big thank you to Damari Alston, the 2022 running back out of College Park, Georgia, Woodward Academy. Also, too, we want to give a shout-out to Raylan Gandy. He's out of Beaufort, Georgia, and he's a 2022 defensive back. I want to give a shout-out to him for coming on. Cole Hudson, a 2022 offensive tackle. He's out of Frisco, Texas. I want to say a big thank you to him as well. And lastly, the big man, Olu Ba, another 2022 offensive line prospect out of Memphis, Tennessee, Whitehaven High School. And lastly, we want to say a special thank you to the newest member of the Arkansas men's basketball program, Associate Head men's basketball coach David Patrick. We want to say a thank you to him for coming on. Demetrius, you see all those kids? All those, we was in the 21s, the 22s, the 23s. We had on the head, the associate head coach. What else can we do? We can do it a little bit better next week.
I mean, they just have to stick around and tune in every day. You never know who we have coming on. You never know what recruit we may bring on. We may be bringing some former players that got some new coaching jobs in Arkansas on next week. So you just have to tune in.
Sometimes it's the climbing the tallest mountains takes time, but we keep step by step. We'll be back this next week. We want to say a quick thank you to the people that make this thing so special and possible for us to bring it to you each and every day. With that being said, Lindsay and Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also too in Rogers, Locomotion. They're located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville. Corey Beck's Custom Painting, and the one that we just had him on, the guy, KDK's Chicken, located at 989 South Razorback Road. Go see Keith, Kathy, get some love. And they say it on the building, it's not your mama's. We like to say they got the best chicken and waffles in the South. Meet us there or beat us there. That's KDK's Chicken at 989 Razorback Road. For my producer, Demetrius Johnson, myself, to all of our viewers and listeners, thanks for the questions, the constant views. Hey, that really means a lot to us, and we continue to get better, but you make us that way. We'll be back Monday. You guys have a blessed weekend, and it's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. You know what the final words got to be. Let's get it.
Team God.